Welcome to Power Hour, where the editors of Powersports Business interview the movers and shakers of the industry. This episode is brought to you by Synchrony.
Hi, everybody. Brendan Baker with Powersports Business and Power Hour. We've got a special guest today from up north, from Canada, our friends up in Canada. We've got Landon French, who is the president of Moto Canada, which is essentially the Motorcycle Industry Council of Canada. And, do you do any, is there kind of moto industry like MIC and maybe AMA a little bit, or is it just more the manufacturers?
A little bit of that. It's both on-road and off-road. So we've got all the SVIA relationships are part of our group, and ROVA and so on. So we cover the whole country.
Yeah. So, and as we were talking earlier, I mean, Canada is about, they're a significant partner for not only powersports dealers in the whole country in the US, but, vice versa. We're significant partners to them. And that border has been very, what'd you say? How many? 2.7 or
Yeah, $2.7 billion US in trade a day crosses the border between Canada and the United States. It's the largest trading relationship in the world. And, we've got this fantastic both cultural and economic relationship that's the envy of many countries the world over. And so with President Trump's proposal to put a 25% blanket tariff on all imports from Canada, it's really got our attention, and from a power sport recreational vehicles industry point of view, it's a concern because almost every vehicle that we purchase here in Canada to ride comes from another country, and largely from the United States. And so that's going to raise the price of these vehicles, cause dealers a great deal of grief from a cash flow perspective, and really put a damper on what we have access to. But all of that then means that there's fewer jobs in the United States as lines slow down to accommodate, fewer exports to Canada. So it's
right.
It's something we're quite concerned about on this side.
And, even though you've got BRP, and BRP has some plants in Mexico, and I know there's some, like Polaris has some plants in Mexico, they could still be hit, on both sides, BRP and Polaris. I don't know if Canada, can you import directly from Mexico to, and avoid any of that? I don't know. I don't know how that part works, but.
Well, it still adds cost, right?
Yeah.
That shipping, change adds costs. And the idea is that if this blanket 25% tariff comes on from the United States, Canada is contemplating adding specific tariffs, strategic tariffs, to a variety of goods coming into Canada from the United States, of which motorcycles, ATVs, side-by-sides are being contemplated this time. So, in fact, was mentioned by the Prime Minister last week. So we're quite keen to make the point that this isn't necessary. You have our attention. We're great friends and trading partners, and we're willing to do a lot, I think, in Canada to maintain that relationship. But this will hurt the recreational power sport industry in a big way. And at a time when it's not in great shape at the moment, there's a lot of companies that had a tough year and are looking at a tough year coming ahead. This will not make that any easier, that's for sure.
How has the industry fared in Canada this year? Because, I'm assuming it's pretty similar to what we've had with real soft demand and interest rates up. Is that same kind of things affecting your dealers and your customers and consumers?
Yeah, I'd say generally the motorcycle business has been flat to down a little bit. Off-road has been up a little bit. They offset each other pretty well up here, and we'll be in the 140,000 unit range as we were last year. So it's with a population of 40 million people, 140,000 units a year is a pretty big ticket. And we've got 2.2 million people who ride either on road or off road. in this country. And so
that's nothing to that's nothing to sneeze at. That's a
that's
lot.
right. Right. And we love having access to what you have access to. So the things that Americans buy often come to Canada just about as is, with a few little tweaks. So if those products are going to be taxed another 25%, it'll mean we'll have fewer vehicles to choose from. It'll mean the vehicles we do have are more expensive, and that'll have an impact on both sides of the border.
Now, are you guys lobbying your government directly to try to get this sorted out? And I mean, and maybe there's a way to work with even MIC to lobby, and I don't know what's gone on behind the scenes at this point, but it seems like I'm reading stuff like farmers are, working on Trump to try to get, avoid tariffs, and some other, other sectors are like, hey, don't, we're essential,
Yeah.
But, I mean, recreation is essential. Let's put it that way. I think it's essential, and it's also utility.
It's about the jobs. It really comes down to jobs, because those are votes. And, whether it's our industry, agriculture, pharma, automotive, you name it, everybody is lobbying on both sides of the border to try to get the point across that, this isn't necessary. We in Canada, like I said, value this relationship in a big way. And, we're willing to work with you if there are things that you'd like to see changed. That happens all the time. And we are working with all of our counterparts, whether it's the MIC or SBIA or others around the world, to understand what the possible ramifications are of this, and who can we talk to try and get the message across that this is hurtful for both sides, and not, like I see, not necessary, and it particularly when the industry's in a tough spot like it is right now.
So from what I understand, Trudeau went down to Mar-a-Lago there to talk to Trump and try to say, like, we're not Mexico, or we don't have, our border is different than the Mexican border. And which I mean, I've been to the Canadian border a bunch of times, not really the Mexican border, so I can't really speak on that. But at the same time, I'm like, if this was all about like drugs and fentanyl, but it seems like it's more than, it's like either he just takes a slight at the fact that there was a trade deficit and he doesn't like that. So he's aiming his guns at anybody that the U.S. has a trade deficit with,
Yeah.
Which I think some of it may be founded from, say some other trading partners in Asia that may have taken advantage of some things. But I don't, Canada, what are the big trade is petroleum, which is, we've got a pipeline that's been flowing through there for years, and has been is well worth the money and effort and everything, for on both sides. So I don't know. I'm perplexed.
It's an interesting relationship. We are the largest supplier of energy to the United States, both petroleum and electricity. In the Great Lakes Basin, our industrial economies have grown up together. Most of the investment, the United States companies are the largest investors in Canada, far more than they invest in any other country in the world. We're just so closely linked that anything that really calls all of that history and relationship into question is tough. But we're willing to work through it. So, but on this particular topic, if power sport and recreational vehicles are included in the retaliatory tariff from the Canadian side, it's going to hurt Americans and American jobs, and we don't want that to happen. We're trying on our end to get us off of that list. We don't know what the final list is going to look like, and no one will know till after Inauguration Day. So. But we're taking the time between now and then to talk to our friends on both sides of the border to make our point that there's no reason to harm our industry, particularly now. We can work through these things, and we'll happily put the pressure on.
And tariffs, I mean, they're taxes basically, right? They affect regular people, not just not just your job, but it's also income that is blown out, so, Trump can crow about raising all this money from tariffs, but who's paying for it will be the consumer, you
Right.
know. So you're not hitting it. And I mean, stuff that I've read just says that, yeah, most of that, over 90% of the previous tariff stuff was passed on to the consumer.
Yep. Yep.
So yeah, I mean, and in this kind of situation where we've already got a soft, the industry, if interest rates were 0% and inflation was at 2, it might be like, okay, but no.
No, and in this conversation, the whole idea of tariffs continues to weaken the Canadian dollar as well. So today, one American dollar buys $1.44 Canadian. That means when even our companies that are based in the United States import their products into Canada, it costs that much more, which makes it cost more from our perspective at the store. So too strong economies helps both. And but we understand that this is part of the negotiating tactic. The president wants to see a little bit of chaos to strengthen his hand, which he's done. And so we get it. We're taking it very seriously, and that's why we're having these conversations.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I'm hoping that we can come to a resolution here sooner than, obviously you don't want to harm business and you don't want to harm jobs. I mean, and those are votes on both sides.
Yep.
So, and I never really saw, I haven't followed it that closely, but I've never seen what the real reason was for the tariffs other than really just a trade deficit. But we've got other trade deficits too, and maybe he's going to tax everything. However, we can't make everything. I mean, as it is, the U.S. can't produce everything that we need. It just is not possible.
And from a security and defense perspective, we're the biggest buffer between the United States and Russia. We're your best partners. And so there's a lot more than $100 billion worth of value in Canada and what it provides to the United States. And we understand the value that the United States provides to Canada. So I think we can work this out. I know our governments are trying to work it out. There's a lot of conversation in Washington and Ottawa to get to the bottom of it. And we understand he's trying to make a point. Just we don't want to be on that list because we're in a very vulnerable position right now as an industry. So,
I know we've got a industry fly-in coming up, but that might be April, a little too late. But I do think that this is time for dealers and industry stakeholders to lobby the necessary parties, to make the point of how important this is on both sides. And, the recreation industry on top of that is a very vital industry for both countries. It's like in the trillions, it's like $2 trillion or something like that. So, yeah, I mean, this is an important topic, and I appreciate you coming on to share with us what, from your perspective of what's going on. And we're still kind of, because it's not January 20th yet, we don't really know, but yeah, we kind of know that we know what's being proposed, and how it actually rolls out, or if it rolls out, it's hard to say. But if, I see it, if concessions can be made or things can be compromised and worked out, however, it's going to be better for everybody. But we'll have to wait.
100%. Yeah, well, we'll keep you posted from this side, and there's a lot of work that's going to go on over the next few weeks, and hopefully we get a more clearer picture as we get closer to January 20th, and then stay in touch.
Yep. All right, man. I really appreciate it. Thanks for coming on, and good luck. Keep us posted, like I said, and we'll follow up as necessary.
Okay, great. Thanks, Brendan.
All right.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
If you like this podcast, please like, share, and subscribe. We also invite you to connect with us on powersportsbusiness.com.